A 4.7 IMDb movie from 2005 that still sparks conversation, nostalgia, and quiet passion 2 decades later. Jennifer Garner's Elektra is the ultimate pop culture paradox, a commercial and critical failure that produced an iconic performance, a flawed film that created a lasting cult legacy, and a character too raw and sensual to ever fully succeed in the mainstream, yet too compelling to ever truly disappear. 2. The making of the movie, what went wrong? The biggest issue was scheduling. Garner was still the lead of Alias, which shortened the Elektra shoot by roughly 2 months. This created a domino effect. The script never received proper polishing, action sequences were rushed, and post-production felt fragmented. Despite these challenges, one of the few genuine strengths was the sensual choreography in the fight scenes. The filmmakers leaned into Elektra's grace, lethality, and physicality, turning many battles into something that felt like a dark, hypnotic, sensual dream. Garner's training showed, her movements were fluid, confident, and charged with quiet eroticism that made the action stand out. In a movie filled with tonal inconsistencies, these sequences were often the moments that worked best. Ultimately, the rushed production, underdeveloped script, and studio interference doomed the film. It grossed only about $57 million worldwide and was savaged by critics, 11% on Rotten Tomatoes. Any hopes for an Elektra franchise died almost immediately. 3. The performance that transcended the film. Jennifer Garner's committed, sensual, and intense portrayal stood out as the film's strongest element. She brought physicality, vulnerability, and quiet lethality to a role that could have been shallow. The iconic red costume and psi weapons became bigger than the movie itself. Many fans felt the film failed her, not the other way around. This created a protective, underdog affection that has lasted 20+ years. 4. 2 distinct eras. Pre-Elektra and post-Elektra. Jennifer Garner's career can be neatly divided into 2 very different chapters, with Elektra, 2005, acting as the unmistakable dividing line. Pre-Elektra, she was on a rocket trajectory. Alias made her a television star, and Daredevil positioned her as a legitimate action heroine. Studios saw her as potential major movie talent. Post-Elektra, the failure forced a deliberate shift. She moved away from risky, sensual action roles and pivoted toward safer, wholesome, romantic comedy, and family-friendly territory. The image change was strategic and complete, from dangerous assassin to relatable, all-American sweetheart. It protected her long-term marketability but closed the door on sustained big-budget action stardom. 5. Elektra was never marketable to begin with. At its core, the 2005 Elektra film was always going to be an uphill battle. Not because of Jennifer Garner's performance, but because the character herself is structurally difficult to sell to a mass audience. Elektra is dark, sensual, lethal, and morally gray. She doesn't fit neatly into the bright, heroic, toyetic mold that studios prefer. Neither the studio nor Garner's camp seemed to fully grasp this before greenlighting the project. This is why Elektra swung and missed so dramatically. It's the superhero equivalent of Casey at the bat. Everything lined up for the power hitter, and yet it still struck out. 6. Elektra failed so Black Widow could succeed. One of the most fascinating ironies is that Elektra's failure helped pave the way for later female-led successes like Black Widow. The film absorbed the risk and stigma, reinforcing Hollywood's hesitation around solo female superhero movies for years. This caution gave Marvel time to study what went wrong and refine their approach. In a strange way, Elektra's commercial death helped make Black Widow's success possible. 7. The inexplicable paradoxes of a modern cult classic. What makes Elektra such a compelling case study is how many paradoxes it contains. A commercial and critical failure that refuses to disappear. Flaws that gave it raw, honest energy. A performance that transcended the movie. Intense but unusually private fandom. Resistance to mainstreaming. These contradictions are what give it its unique mystique. It failed on almost every conventional metric yet still endures as a true cult classic. 8. The fanbase and the stigma attached to the character's legacy. Elektra's fandom is one of the most unconventional in superhero culture. It tends to be intense but quiet, personal, and often semi-private. Many fans connect with her on a deep emotional level, themes of trauma, suppressed desire, moral grayness, and reclaiming power, and keep that passion somewhat contained rather than loudly celebrated. This is largely due to the stigma attached to the character. Her unapologetic sensuality, lethality, and moral ambiguity make her uncomfortable for many people, especially older generations or those with more traditional views. The same traits that make her compelling also make her difficult to market or openly embrace. Public interest is often fleeting, while private, enduring attachment is common. This creates a niche, cult-like fandom that resists easy commercialization and often lives in the shadows. 9. Conclusion. Elektra is not a typical superhero movie by any stretch. It's a messy, complex legacy that is not easily understood by all, but for those who do, it's incredibly personal and passionate. The things that make her appealing to her fans are the exact same reasons she can never be a true mainstream success. She is the ultimate pop culture paradox. She shouldn't have endured and yet somehow she does. Just like Elektra herself, every time they try to kill her, somehow she doesn't truly die.